here that was prominently displayed to our centerpieces featuring key Hillel programs. And by the way, the centerpieces are going to be gifts for the students. Hopefully, many of you were able to meet students as well. We're honored to serve as your co-chairs for this incredible evening of honor as we pay tribute to our beloved Rabbi Lee, Olav Shalom, and recognize the outstanding contributions of 4 amazing people. I'd like to call on Hillel's rabbi, Rabbi Susie Stone, for some words of blessing.
Erev Tov, everyone. Our sages taught Al Shlosha Devarim, that the world stands on 3 things: on Torah, on Chesed, and Gemilut Chesedim. And the way we see it here at Hillel is that we really have an incredibly straightforward yet infinitely complex job, both as staff and as a rabbi, that we turn these 3 things into something modern. And what we say all the time at Hillel is that we're creating a place for students to be, belong, and grow. We want to teach them that no matter who they are and where they come from, they're created b'tzelem Elohim, in the image of God, and to remember that they are way more than their grades or their achievements or anything that can be put on their resume, and that they have an inherent self-worth. We teach them that belonging is where they can find themselves here, right, at Hillel, but it also goes beyond them just finding their crew or their friends, that we're actively creating a kehila kirusha, a holy community where tolerance is not simply, diversity is not simply tolerated, but actually embraced and celebrated. And it's a lost art today that we can come together with people from different views, different backgrounds, and not just get along, but actually advance society. And that is our 3rd goal, is to help our students to grow. And by doing so, we encourage them to push them beyond their comfort zone, to work on repairing the world, tikkun olam, and helping us to make sure that we don't despair, to instill hope that the world can actually be a better place. And we only can do this with the support of everybody in this room. You don't get to see our students every day, so I'm so proud of what they're about to show you, what they do every day at Hillel. We also can't do this without Lador Vador, without all of our honorees here tonight that made it possible, all of you here that have helped support Hillel and the honorees and here to welcome them today. So we take a pause, a very short pause, and we're thanking God for this moment, for bringing us to this time. And if you know it, please join with me, because you can hear I'm losing my voice a bit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Thank you, Rabbi Susie. We have an abundance of thanks and ask that you hold your applause until they have all been mentioned. First, this event would not have been possible without the incredible work of Debbie Junker-Kale, Executive Director of Hillel, and her amazing staff. Yeah, absolutely.
In addition, Hillel's volunteer, hardworking board of directors and advisory councils, capably led by our good president, Ed Ober. Our small but mighty committee has worked tirelessly to bring this evening to life. Eva Binder, Elise Katz, Maddie Levy, Gail and Ed Lober, Aaron Cyril Proud. Thanks to all of you.
We are privileged to thank our visionary level sponsors, Carrie and Maury Aaron, Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation, Ira Gaines and Cheryl Hinson Gaines, Jayberg Wilk, Cindy and Jamie Rosenthal, and Barbara and Barry Zemmel.
As well as our champion level sponsors, Mark and Judy Searle, Arizona State University, still celebrating their big victory over the U of A. I figure this is the home crowd. Amy and Andrew Cohn, and our gratitude to the Schoen family and Lanny and Marlene Allard for sponsoring our student tables tonight.
We are also thrilled to have so many Jewish organizations represented, as well as 2 guests from Hillel International, Jay Lewis, Lead Campus Support Director, and Rachel Weisberger, Vice President of Advancement. Thank you for traveling from Kansas City and Washington, D.C., respectively, to join us tonight. Now is the time for all mentioned to rise and be acknowledged. And finally, thanks to all of you who have taken the time and provided the resources to attend this evening. This room is filled to capacity. What a wonderful tribute to Hillel at ASU. So everyone stand and give yourself a round of applause. And now I'd like to invite our fearless leader, Debbie Junker-Kale, up for some words.
Thanks, guys. Thank you again to everyone who's out here tonight, and a big thank you to Cheryl and Stan Hammerman, my new best friends over text and email and phone and everything else. They've been amazing pulling this together for you guys all tonight. So building and growing Hillel does truly take a village. It takes all of you here, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the awards that were established that we're giving out tonight for the first time. They recognize special people who have made unique contributions to our growth and to our broader community. And I wanted to share a little background on both of the awards before Cheryl and Stan present them. So the Rabbi Barton G. Lee of Blessed Memory Pillar Award. This honors those who preserve Rabbi Lee's qualities of going above and beyond to ensure Hillel is always there to support students. This award is given annually to 1 or more individuals who hold up Hillel at Arizona State University through their actions and their commitments. Hillel at ASU is an evolving organization, and the recipients of this award help keep us strong while we continue to grow. And while he's no longer physically here, Rabbi Lee is here. You're going to hear a lot about him tonight, and nothing that I've done in the last 9.5 years was possible if he hadn't done everything he did in the 42 years before that. The other award that we've established is the Community Enrichment Award. So Hillel's mission is to enrich the lives of Jewish graduate and undergraduate students so that they can enrich the Jewish people, Israel, and the world. It's a dual mission. It's to enrich students so that they can go out and do their best, making a contribution to the world. This award honors young professionals who are doing just that, who embody our mission, and who are taking what they've learned on campus to improve our community right here. Cheryl and Stan are going to speak further about each couple, but I had to just say one brief thing about each of them first. So Barry and Barb, you welcomed me from the first day I got to town almost 10 years ago. Even before then, as Barry was the first and only donor that I met one-on-one when I was interviewing here. The meeting was the first of many times we chatted about your love of socks. And to me, your love of socks isn't just a fun conversation topic, but it's a symbol for wearing your personality proudly. And so the giveaways tonight are for Barry and for all of you. Right? So I've always tried to emulate that wearing my personality proudly and being the leader that I want to be. And Barb, you're a leader in your own right and have inspired me from the beautiful musical performances that I've been to for AMDA and so much else. And to both of you, from covering the cost of our leaking roof 10 years ago when we barely had money to make payroll, to ensuring that our facility always has what it needs, you have really held up our community. And Matt and Madeline, I've known you almost as long, have laid the foundation for what became our exponential growth in student engagement, but also in confidence in ourselves as an organization. Matt started our student board, which created an avenue for students to lead their peers and gain important leadership skills. And Madeline started Hillel's culture of teaching classes. So all you students that are taking classes at Hillel now, or many of them, It started with Madeline, which grew from 15 to 20 students a semester to 60 to 80 students a semester, taking any number of different cohort-based classes through Hillel. And Madeline, your passion for sustainability also inspired me to make our digital ad book. So don't worry, we have hard copies for the honorees, but there were QR codes throughout the event, and we'll be emailing a link to our digital ad book tomorrow to everybody, and we're so grateful for all the beautiful messages that were put in there. It's often a joke how much Madeline loves sustainability, but she's really also encouraged me to think about my impact on the world and what I put out there. So I just wanted to thank you guys both, and without further ado, I'm going to get out of the way and let the program proceed.
As part of the first cohort of the Young Leadership Development Committee of the Jewish Federation, we were asked to select an agency where we would serve as an intern on the board of directors. Although I was not involved in Hillel at The Ohio State University, becoming an adult made me realize what an important part of Jewish growth Hillel could be. I loved working with Rabbi Lee. His scholarship, leadership, and sense of humor made for a wonderful role model for the Jewish students, and especially for me. We developed a beautiful, long-lasting friendship. I never hesitated to approach him for his guidance and counsel, and no one knew how to celebrate Purim, but like Rabbi Lee. He officiated at our son's bris in 1978, attended our children's B'nai Mitzvah, and a sharing of good times and sometimes bad times continued. My roles and responsibilities on the board grew, culminating with the honor of becoming president. In this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, God commands Moses to bring pure olive oil for kindling the lamps. From evening till morning, it shall be an everlasting light for their generations from the children of Israel. This commandment, today, the Ner Tamid, is the only commandment associated with the ancient tabernacle that is still with us today. To me, Hillel is like the Ner Tamid. It has been there for the students day and night, and its guiding light will hopefully continue for generations.
Thank you.
I am truly honored and I'm humbled to be here tonight to present the first ever Rabbi Barton G. Lee Pillar Award to my good friends Barry and Barbara Zemmel. I'm also privileged to present the Community Enrichment Award to Madeline and Matt Sherman. Rabbi Lee was a friend and mentor to so many of us in this room tonight. When we were asked to co-chair this evening, I found this booklet from 30-some years ago called Prayers for Personal Occasions. This was prepared by Rabbi Lee as Hillel director at that time. And these are prayers that he felt were important, some of which he wrote himself. And I want to just read one because I think it's important to hear his voice, his words tonight. He calls it a prayer of thanks. Creator of the universe, weaver of worlds, we thank you for the many gifts with which you have blessed us, for life itself, and the loves which enrich it, for our minds and our powers of intellectual development, for our senses and the capacity to appreciate the beauty which surrounds us, and for the freedom to enjoy your blessings. Enable us, O God, to use your gifts to the fullest, that we develop ourselves and our sensitivities and create a society in which your divine purposes may be realized. Amen. And I think it's just so important to hear his words tonight, and those of us who knew him and loved him recognize that style, recognize the kind of words that he was sharing and aspiring for in that prayer. So as I said, Rabbi Lee was a good friend to so many of us, and I personally enjoyed discussing Torah and contemporary Jewish issues with Barton. Barton and I had different interests. Barton enjoyed high culture, such as opera and ballet, and I'm much more of a sports fan and a rock and roll fan. Every year, Barton would select the theme for the annual Hillel fundraiser. Is it possible that Barton was thinking, how much will Stan dislike this program? I felt that we hit rock bottom when we had the Israel Ballet. In the words of Frankie Valli, oh, what a night. When Cheryl and I lived in Ohio, we attended the Cincinnati Opera one evening. Upon leaving, I said to Cheryl, "You'll never get me to see another opera singer again. Never, that's for sure." I was wrong. Within a few years after the Israel Ballet, Barton decided that he would invite the noted opera singer Roberta Peters to perform for the Hillel fundraiser. I spoke to Barton. I said, "Barton, you know we don't like this type of program. How about I don't show up, I won't complain, and I'll just send you a check." Without a beat, Barton looked at me and he said, "Stan, you will be there and you will send a check." And so it was. It's only fitting that Barry and Barbara Zemmel received the very first Barton G. Lee Pillar Award for Hillel at ASU. Cheryl and I have been good friends with the Zemmels for well over 40 years, and everyone knows that Barry and Barbara are generous and supportive of so many organizations. Just a brief story about Barry. A number of years ago, we agreed to meet them for a movie at the Harkins Theater. Barry had already achieved substantial success in the business world. Cheryl and I arrived at the Harkins Theater a few minutes before Barry and Barbara arrived. In comes Barry wearing a Harkins t-shirt so he can get a free popcorn. Now, many of us would have been embarrassed to show up on a Saturday night wearing that silly t-shirt, but not Barry, because Barry has always understood value. And Barry and Barbara are solicited by many people in this community to support their organizations or their political campaigns or whatever. But they only support those organizations which they believe deliver value. And at the top of that list is Hillel at ASU. Barry and Barbara understand the value of supporting Hillel at ASU. Similarly, Matt and Madeline Sherman are carrying the torch for the next generation, as they also understand the value of continuing to support Hillel at ASU. We are here tonight to show not only our love and respect for the honorees and for Rabbi Lee, we are here because we know how important the work of Hillel is and what it means to future generations.
Stan spoke a bit about Barry, but I'd like to add some words about my dear friend Barbara. Barry appears at times larger than life, but as this award suggests, Barbara is a leader and supporter of many organizations in her own right. She lends her ideas, creativity, eye for detail, and generosity of spirit and resources to all that she undertakes. And like Barry, she works hard for those ideals and programs that she values. Barbara and Barry truly embody the meaning of L'Ador Vador as exemplary role models for their children and grandchildren. Barbara and Barry, will you please come up and accept the first Rabbi Barton G. Lee Memorial Pillar Award? And Mazel Tov.
The award, which was prepared just for the Zemmels and for the Shermans tonight, says, Birkat HaBayit, may this home be a place of happiness and health, of contentment, generosity, and hope, a home of creativity and a kindness. May those who visit and those who live here know only blessing and peace.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. In my Wise Aging class, we talked about what being grateful means to us. Well, I am so grateful and appreciative to be receiving this new Pillar Award in honor and in memory of Rabbi Barton Lee of blessed memory. And I am so grateful that you are all here tonight to show your support, your caring, and your generosity. I considered Barton a friend, a mensch, a community leader, an amazing director of Hillel, and a wonderful mentor to the students. By the way, he also officiated at our first granddaughter's naming. When Barry and I moved here from New York over 50 years ago, where we were enveloped in Jewish life, we were in culture shock. We knew one couple that lived here, Marilyn and Joel Zolendek, who moved out here a year before us. I taught school with Marilyn back in Brooklyn. But we fervently looked for a way to get involved in the Jewish community and make more friends. We looked toward Jewish organizations to join and become involved in. Hillel was one of them. We were smitten with Rabbi Lee. I eventually joined the board, and Barry became president of the board. I was on several committees to plan events, even a no-show dinner for Abba Eben, and I even worked in the kitchen with then chef Mark Vanek, teaching him how to poach a salmon. We made wonderful friends and got to see Barton in action with the students. But my favorite memory is when Barton told us he was taking a group of students to the Grand Canyon in 1983 for Sukkot, and he asked us to join him. We immediately agreed, bringing with us our two children, Matt, who was then 6 years old, and Risa, who was 4 years old. Oh, did I mention it was a camping trip? How enthralled it was to listen to Barton and the students read Torah in the surroundings of the glorious Grand Canyon. But most meaningful to me was my kids were so enraptured with the experience. They stood right up there with Barton as he learned Torah, totally mesmerized. I took a picture of the three of them, and Barton kept that picture on his desk until the day he retired. He will always be remembered and missed dearly. Thank you again for this prestigious honor in the name of a man I admired so much.
Hey guys. Again, I want to thank all of you for attending. There are those here for Madeline and Matt to honor them. Some of you are here for Barry and Barbara for us. A whole bunch of you really have no idea what Hillel is, and I'm glad you're here to be enlightened and educated. And then for everybody else who are friends of Hillel, thank you. We need your support and we love you. My journey started, like you've heard before, with the Young Leadership Development Group out of the Jewish Federation. So I came over to Hillel. It was in a small 2-room establishment right on University in the Methodist Center. And I met Barton. Now you have to understand, I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up in an Orthodox neighborhood. My rabbis were Orthodox. My Hebrew school teachers were Orthodox. They had long gray beards, most of them bad breath, and they were not friendly. I come across Barton, and I could not believe this is a rabbi. He was unlike any rabbi I ever met. He was so easy to talk to, knowledgeable, optimistic, and truly a warm person. He embodied Jewish values and ethics. And as he said to me many times, wake up with determination, go to bed with satisfaction, make every day count. So when I was working with Hillel and I joined the board, I was also the treasurer, and that was before computers. Elise Katz, you have a computer. And I was a friend of everyone there, and I became a donor. It is without doubt that instituting the Rabbi Barton Pillar of the Community Award, I expanded that, is very fitting to his memory and ideals. My years with Hillel have been very rewarding, going to programs, listening to speakers, going to services, and especially the highlight was interfacing with ASU students. However, 3 things stand out. One of them is early on, when we want to get out of that little 2-room facility on University, Rabbi Barton Lee and the board shepherded 5 community leaders to pony up the money to buy the land where the building is now and build the building. And they asked me to facilitate the process. So I formed a limited partnership. The building was owned by the 5 guys. And then when the time was right, we had it appraised and they donated it to Hillel. And everybody had a good feeling about that and it worked out well. It was a good tax advantage deal. The next thing, as a highlight, is when Bob Silver invited me on the search committee to find a replacement for Barton Lee because he was retiring. The dilemma was, can we have somebody who's not a rabbi? And we've been guided by Rabbi Lee for 42 years, and that was our model. So along comes this dynamo, Debbie Yanker-Kale, and blew us away, and we're saying, can we do this? She's not a rabbi. Who's going to guide the students? Boy, did we make the right choice. So that was really a very good moment for us. And the last item that really means a lot to me is right now, the thrill of working on doing the new building. We bought the land next door. We have a nice footprint, and we're going to be ready to build a building. And it's been very thrilling to work with the students and staff on designing the space to meet everyone's needs. Oftentimes, you always see these real estate guys think they know best, and they forget about who's using the space. So this is really very good for me to be involved with them. Hey, do any of you remember your first day in college, your move-in day? The feeling of excitement, the freedom, anticipation, and also being a little scared? You may have been brought up in a Jewish home with Jewish community activities. You may have attended Jewish day school, BBYO, you may have gone to Alexander Muss, and then here you are at a university, away from your parents and all of your roots. You're on your own, and even though you may have a social organization like AEPI or sports or other friends, you long for the friendship and the bonding that comes with other people with Jewish values and ethics. And here's Hillel. Hillel is a national organization, and this is where I'm teaching my non-Jewish friends here what Hillel is. Tim. Okay. Hillel is a national organization that fills the initial angst of coming on campus with a sense of belonging that is so needed by these fresh faces which you'll meet as they enter adulthood. Hillel at ASU has grown over the years, and we are bursting at the seams. You'll hear this also. We have this old building, 40 plus years old, and it is time to modernize and go forward to the next generation. We had an extraordinary run in the building, but it is time. Barbara and I are firm believers in the importance of legacy, of planting the seed today for growth well into the future, and perhaps well beyond our lifespan. We delight in seeing the next generation stepping up, and we congratulate Matt and Madeline as that next generation, and the students you'll hear from. We have witnessed over the years that supporting Hillel has been gratifying and so justified. As you listen to these college students, you will understand the impact of our involvement. We are so thrilled to be the first recipients of the Barton Lee Community Award, and we thank you very much for coming.
Presented to Madeline and Matt Sherman. Madeline and Matt Sherman were meant for each other. I think it was Beshert. Both of them, having grown up in the Valley, they bring a wealth of knowledge, experience, and Yiddishkeit to the benefit of Hillel. Matt attended Jewish summer camps and was president of the Southwest region of NIFTY. He attended ASU, where he developed an interest in business. Matt's leadership skills continued in college, where he served as the first student board president at the Hillel Jewish Student Center at ASU. His musical background and talent led him to be a song leader at Hillel Shabbat services.
Madeline attended Pardes Jewish Day School. While she attended NYU, she developed a passion for Jewish life and interfaith work. She interned at the Bronfman Center for Jewish Student Life, the Global Spiritual Life Office, and Auburn Interfaith Seminary. She received the college's first Social Justice Award for leading a week-long educational program to collect donations for Syrian refugees. Returning to the Valley, she continued to follow her passion for Jewish community building, beginning her professional career at Hillel at ASU. Madeline launched several programs, including a Jewish learning class, a weekly bagel club called the Schmear Society, a meditation class, and an interfaith fellowship.
By the way, that Schmear Society sounds really good. I think we might have to go to that. Married for just a year, together they continue to elevate Hillel's Jewish Student Center at ASU by spreading the word with the TAK College Prep Fellowship. In this program, they assist high school students by helping them choose a college, networking, application process, and selecting a major. A central part of this program is to take these students to visit Hillel, where they learn about Jewish life through the eyes of current Jewish college students. We are impressed by their passion, their drive, and their enthusiasm for Hillel.
We cannot think of a better example of L'Ador V'Ador, from generation to generation, from the Zemmels to the Shermans, to not only support Hillel, but to make it better and to continue to improve as the home for Jewish students on the ASU campus. Madeline and Matt, please come up and accept this Community Enrichment Award and Mazel Tov.
They get a similar award to what the Zemmels got, to show you L'Ador V'Ador. And I did skip one part. It's written on this outside of this beautiful presentation. It says, as your generosity has blessed Hillel as a home, so too may your home be blessed.
Madeline and I love Hillel so much that we decided to create a Hillel for adults, which is why we are receiving this award.
We just really couldn't get enough of Hillel, couldn't we?
That's right.
While Matt and I grew up attending very different types of Jewish communities, I attended Pardes Jewish Day School.
And I was a diehard Niftyite, a North American Temple youth group.
We both found a home in Hillel at our respective colleges. I found a love for Jewish learning and interfaith dialogue.
And I found a love for leadership, community building, and caring for others.
The lessons we learned while serving as interns and as staff at Hillel have carried through into the work we do for the Jewish community and also into our professional careers.
We learned how to be interested, not interesting, as a tool for connection.
We learned how to confidently lead Jewish rituals and adapt them to have relevance for modern times.
And we learned how to be gracious and warm hosts. These skills are essential for the work we do to create programs that inspire Jewish young adults and help others feel more connected to our community.
Let's not forget one of the most important lessons that we learned, which is the importance of gratitude.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Well, yes, the prayer kind of gratitude, but we already said motzi tonight, Matt. Who we do need to thank is those who supported us in the endeavors that have helped us to get this award.
First, we want to thank our parents who instilled a love of Judaism in us at an early age, and also the Hillel movement as a whole for helping us find a place in the Jewish community.
Thank you to so many community members who have supported us in many of the initiatives that we've led. That includes Rabbi Bonnie Scharfman and Renee Jaffe of Congregation Kehila for investing in our vision to create Hillel for adults. This includes Rabbi Alana Cantor and Rabbi Michael Wasserman for co-leading our first young adult Jewish learning class, and Teresa Brumer for helping us to get Julie Weds off the ground again after the pandemic.
And of course, a huge thank you to Debbie, who is still the best boss that Madeline and I have ever had.
It's true. Debbie trusted us enough to take risks on our wacky ideas, which mostly worked out, while providing the resources we needed to succeed. She is excited by change and innovation, which allows both her staff and students to feel motivated to try new things. It is this energy that keeps ASU Hillel engaging and always growing.
We are excited to be the first recipients of the Community Engagement Award, which recognizes young adults who have had an impact on the Jewish community. But we are even more excited that ASU Hillel, an organization that we both love, will have a lot more funding when we leave tonight.
We hope that our story is just another one of the many reasons that shows you why you should support this wonderful organization. Thank you so much for this incredible honor, for being here tonight and supporting Hillel, an organization that clearly has meant so much to us. It's also where we met. So we have to thank you for that. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Now we would like to invite some students to come up and share some special stories that they have about their involvement in Hillel.
What is Hillel?
Is it a building?
Or are the students?
Maybe the staff.
Or is it the classes?
The events?
I think it's that special feeling when chicken soup shows up at your door.
Or maybe it's just a parking lot.
Or a source of free coffee and free food?
It's definitely a place to teach Debbie the newest slang words.
Yes to all of that and so much more.
Tonight, we invite you all to hear the impact that Hillel has on students that choose to become a part of our community. Notice that I said hear, though, and not listen. As you may or may not know, the central prayer in all of Judaism, the Shema, is a prayer about hearing. When we say this prayer on Friday night Shabbat services, we invite the congregation to hear the words and to hear the meaning, rather than simply passively listening. So tonight, I ask that all of you do the same with the three of us. Instead of just passively listening, actively hear to these stories.
Shema
I didn't know that there was an organization that would invest so much into me without even knowing me. But as we all know, that's just what Hillel is. One invitation is all it takes to change someone's life. Growing up in a split household in Phoenix, I used to describe myself as Jew-ish, with a heavy emphasis on the ish. And while that may be an overused way to describe myself, it really is how I felt before I came to college. We minimally celebrated the holidays and of course ate lots of challah, but that's about it when it came to my experience with Judaism. Essentially, my parents wanted a clean slate for me to discover who I am, and I'm very appreciative for that because it led me to ASU Hillel. I'm obviously here to tell you that it was about my Hillel experience, but I'll be honest, it took me a bit of time to find them. I like to think that it was b'sheret for me to be involved with Hillel, that everything I did would lead me here to where I am today. I was reluctant to go to any events at my freshman year because I didn't know anybody, and let's be honest, at any age that can be a difficult factor in choosing whether or not to go to events. One day, in October of 2019 though, my mom brought my dog to campus to provide some much needed cuddles, and as I was playing with my dog, a girl came up to me and asked if she could pet him. Of course I said yes, and as she was playing with him, she noticed that I was wearing my Hebrew necklace and invited me to join her at an upcoming Hillel event. And from there, I was absolutely hooked with Hillel and wished I had gone to events earlier on. Talia, the girl, she brought me to my first Shabbat, and everyone there, particularly the staff, made me feel at home. I continuously noticed the effort of both staff and student leaders that they put into developing relationships with students, especially during COVID, and genuinely caring about the future well-being of the organization. Quarantine only solidified my adoration for Hillel because I saw how supportive they were, even though the situation in which we were in made it that much harder to be supportive. I spent my sophomore year on the programming team of the student board, and we planned all of our big moment items, such as Casino Night, Food Truck Festival, and Israel Night. Being able to plan these events got me so much more involved with the student community, and I felt so lucky to have the opportunity to attract students to Hillel just like I was. After a year on the board, I saw that it wasn't just the staff who care so much about the students, it was also my fellow student leaders. I wanted to make sure that other students had the experiences that I could, and it was then that I realized that Talia, the girl from earlier, had been trained as an outreach intern through Hillel, and her training actually worked on me. Fast forward a year later, I applied to be the student president of the student board, and I got the spot. While 2021 was a very hectic year, I began and completed my thesis, prepared for my study abroad, worked full-time, and also led a wonderful group of students at Hillel. It also taught me how to maintain quality, long-term relationships in the midst of all the chaos. It was also the first year, our first real year back from COVID, in which we had to rebuild and rebrand Hillel to fit the needs of a changing community. This was particularly difficult factoring in all the COVID-related anxieties and excitement, as more than half of the student body hadn't had their real college experience yet. Taylor, the assistant director at ASU Hillel, was the best mentor I could have ever asked for. She embodies what a good leader should be. Through her mentorship, and with my relationships with all the other staff members, I came to understand what it feels like to be invested in, and I wanted to make sure that all other Jewish students could feel that same way. Hillel invested in me several years ago without even knowing if I would want to be involved in the Jewish community. All they knew was that I was Jewish, and for them, that was good enough. And that made me feel really worthy, something that I hadn't always felt before. I wanted to make sure that Hillel was just as good and hopefully better by the time that I left. I was inspired to give back, and that ultimately guided my time as student president. While leadership always has its challenges, I am so grateful for that opportunity to learn and lead. And it only feels fitting that I'm standing here at the door of a door, an event whose name means from generation to generation. Except in college, a generation lasts only 4 years. Hillel at ASU is growing so quickly, and our growth is iterative. It really is insane to think about. What my board did, and what this year's board is doing underneath Zach, is for the current students to experience and also to build for the future students. I know the next group of students will continue to be mentored by our amazing staff. More importantly, I know that other student leaders and staff all strive for what I strove for, to make Hillel a better place, even though we may not see the benefits in our generational time there. Through my leadership opportunities and the bonds that I've created at ASU Hillel, I feel more connected with my Jewish identity. In fact, I now embrace my identity as a proud Jew, no ish needed, and I have my time and the staff at ASU Hillel to thank for that.
My collision course with my Jewish identity begins with a parking lot. It was fall 2020, it was the height of the COVID pandemic, and all of my classes were over Zoom. I call it Zoom University. I had one in-person class and needed somewhere to park my car for 2 hours a week. I wanted my money to go to a nonprofit, so I bought a parking pass through Hillel. And that was my relationship with this organization for about a year. I would park my car there 2 hours a week, and that was that. I wasn't inclined to start participating in Hillel things. I hadn't participated in Jewish life since my dad's mom, my family's anchor to our Judaism, developed Alzheimer's. As her condition rapidly deteriorated, she wasn't able to maintain our family's Jewish life anymore. Soon after her diagnosis, I, along with the rest of my family, was disconnected from our Jewish identity. So how did I end up here then, a student leader at Hillel, talking to all of you about this organization? Well, there are a handful of people to thank for that. Soon after I bought my parking pass, I got a text from someone I didn't know named Michaela, and she asked me if she could buy me some coffee. Okay, I thought to myself, I like some free coffee. I'll go meet this person. So I met Michaela at the building, I sipped on my coffee, and I listened to her spiel. She told me all about Hillel, all of the classes and all the activities they do, and of course she tried to recruit me for Birthright. But after that meeting, I still wasn't inclined to participate, but I knew that I was welcome there if I changed my mind. So there are two more people to blame for getting me involved in Hillel. My mother and an ex-girlfriend. In that year, when Hillel was just a parking lot to me, I started dating this girl. But not every relationship is destined to end in a marriage, and in October of 2021, after a brief but emotionally intense relationship, she and I went our separate ways. Getting over her was tough. She was my first serious relationship. So my mom suggested that I go to a Shabbat dinner. You use them as a parking lot, she said. The least you could do is walk in the building and introduce yourself. So I did. I went to a random Shabbat dinner. They served pasta. And I only knew Michaela there. I walked up to her, she remembered me, and she introduced me to Rabbi Susie, who then introduced me to some students. They made me feel at home and gave me just what I needed at that time. I left that Shabbat with two things. The first being a feeling that this place had something to offer me, and the second being a link to register for one of the many classes that Hillel offers. That Shabbat was, unbeknownst to me, monumental. I enrolled in that class, God, prayer, and the afterlife, and started to re-explore my connection to my faith. I started stopping in to say hi whenever I dropped my car off for the day. I started coming to more Shabbatot. Then I started coming to every Shabbat. I was meeting new people and making more and more friends. I took more classes. Rabbi Susie found out that I play guitar and asked me if I could lead services when the song leader graduated. Then, at the end of my junior year, so last spring, Taylor asked me to join the student cabinet, the executive cabinet of the student board. And together, the two of us worked to find a place on the board that would serve my interests and skills. Our meetings culminated in the creation of a new position, the head of grassroots marketing. With this position, plus my up-and-coming role as song leader, my senior year was set to be centered entirely around Hillel. And so it has been since August. Every day, I go to the building and just hang out there. As a commuter student, I live in beautiful Gilbert, Arizona. Having Hillel as a home on campus has made my final year in college so much better. I do homework there, or I try to do my homework there. I talk with the staff, I hang out with my friends. I spend way too much money at King Coffee next door and Chipotle down the street. And crucially, I've learned the ins and outs of this organization. Song leading has been nothing short of fantastic. I've played more music for more people in the past 6 months than I have in my entire life. I've put together a music team, the world-famous Shaband, and I've even written a handful of original prayer songs, one of which you already heard tonight. Even though Michaela wasn't successful with her goal of getting me on her birthright trips, Devin and Jake were successful in convincing me to go on theirs, and I went to Israel this past winter. It was the most transformative experience of my life. Going to Israel and experiencing it, at least the tiny, minuscule toe dip that birthright is, totally changed my perspective as to what it means to be a Jew. And I've decided to go back, this time for a year, to teach English to Israeli children and to get a master's degree in education from Hebrew University. Thank you. My leadership positions at Hillel have taught me so much about being a leader, yes, but even more about myself. Before I got involved with Hillel, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was aimlessly wandering through college with no plan of what I wanted to do afterwards. Now, however, because I've gotten involved with the Jewish world through Hillel, I'm 100% certain that my career will be a Jewish one. Hillel has shown me the power of Jewish community and connection, and I want to work to foster those communities and connections in the same way that Hillel fostered those things for me. Hillel's motto is "Find yourself here." And I don't think anything could more accurately describe what this institution does. I'm just one example of someone who's found themselves here in a physical, spiritual, and emotional sense. I'm incredibly grateful for this organization and can say without a shadow of a doubt that Debbie, Taylor, Rabbi Susie, Devin, Jake, Shira, Michaela, and Ariel, and the institution they work so hard for have entirely changed my life. Thank you.
If you had told me a year ago today that I would be sitting up here sharing my story with you about my Jewish identity, Hillel would not be a focal point. At the time, I knew Hillel existed, I had been to a few events, but I had a leadership role in my sorority, and I was also a board member of the club swim team that was training to go to nationals. I felt like I had already found my place on ASU's campus through these organizations. At this point, my Jewish identity was as follows. I had the bat mitzvah, I went to an all-Jewish summer camp, I celebrated the holidays with my family back home in Tucson, but I never really put much thought into being involved in the Jewish world during college. In my mind, my Jewish life would resume once I met a nice Jewish boy and our kids got bar mitzvah. But then I signed up for Birthright with ASU Hillel, and this is where my story began. All that my sister had told me prior to leaving for Birthright was just how epic it was, and if I didn't go on a graffiti tour, then I would be totally lame. That's all I really knew what to expect. But there's so much that you experience on an emotional level your first time in Israel that even the orientations or the coffee dates won't prepare you for. No one prepares you for the amount of hummus you will eat. No one prepares you for the bond you make with the staff and students on your trip. No one prepares you for the moment you walk up to the Western Wall for the first time, brought to tears, feeling like you were representing your family, especially those who had never gotten the opportunity to be there. No one prepares you to say goodbye to the Israelis on your trip, who you laughed with, cried with, who instantly became your best friends despite your polar opposite upbringings. It's safe to say that my first time in Israel was magical, and the connections I made on Birthright got me excited to come to Shabbat dinners and other Hillel events at ASU in the future. I had no idea that another chapter was opening up for me as I began my last year at ASU. As Birthright came to a close, I thought to myself, I will be back soon. It was even my post-Birthright Instagram caption. Even I was surprised at how soon that came, though. I returned back to America and began my summer internship in New York City. About 1 month later, one of the Hillel Birthright staff reached out to me and shared that I had been nominated for Hillel International's Israel Insight Fellowship in August. He told me that they were looking for open-minded student leaders on campus, and he had thought of me because I had shown those qualities on our trip. I was flattered, and I immediately accepted. We were brought on this trip as Jewish student leaders to explore the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The hope was to return back to our campuses with firsthand experience and confidence after hearing directly from those who were most affected by the challenges in Israel. I gained a deeper sense of knowledge that came from learning and listening to multiple perspectives. The overarching theme of this trip was the concept of home, homeland, and belonging. We explored what it means for different groups of people to refer to Israel as their homeland and engaged in tough conversations that I had never had before. After this trip, I felt not only a greater sense of belonging to Israel, but a greater sense of belonging to Hillel. My passion for Israel and Hillel transformed into an internal obligation to come back to ASU and immerse myself in the Jewish space as a student leader. I became an active member of the Hillel community by introducing my non-Jewish friends to the Jewish community. They love their free food, by the way. And I've also been writing my honors thesis about my Israel experience and how to build bridges and allyship between organizations on campus. Through my experiences, this year has made me realize that Hillel is not only a community that I never knew that I had just at my fingertips all 4 years of college, but it is a community that I never knew how much I needed. The Hillel staff is now like family to me. The only difference between them and my real family is that when Hillel staff tells me how awesome I am, I actually believe it because they're not obligated to say that. Hillel has become a safe space for me, a place where I feel valued. I feel comfortable showing up to Hillel events alone because of how welcoming the students and staff have been. and I feel a sense of comfort when I'm not the only one in the room wearing my necklace with my name in Hebrew letters. Furthermore, Hillel has given me the platform to use my voice and become a leader in the Jewish space. A year ago, I would have identified myself as Jewish and a student leader, two separate identities. A year ago, I thought my Jewish identity and involvement was on hold until I got married and had kids. A year ago, I had no idea what I was missing. Not only has Hillel provided me with a greater sense of belonging, but they have given me the tools I needed to integrate those two identities into one, which holds an even greater and deeper meaning. I can proudly identify myself as a Jewish student leader. Jewish leadership to me means showing up. Jewish leadership to me means building relationships. Jewish leadership to me means inclusion. As I approach graduation in May, I thank Hillel for helping me to find what it means to be a Jewish leader so that I can be one no matter where life takes me. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hello, Mr. President.
I'm Zach Bell, the student president of the ASU Hillel Student Center, and I'm also the president of the student board here, and it's so incredible to have a room full of people who love Hillel as much as I do.
And I am Ed Ober, president of the ASU Hillel Board of Directors. I want to thank Emma, Hannah, and Dan for sharing their stories with us, and I want to ask Zach to share a little bit about his Hillel journey.
Yes, my Hillel journey. Well, to be honest, when you and Debbie first asked me to speak tonight, I immediately thought of tonight's title, Lador Vador, and my Aunt Janet Reese of blessed memory. Some of you may have known her better as Janet Arnold. She was the founder and leader of the Arizona Jewish Theater Company. She directed many productions in the... She directed a lot of productions in AJTC's 24 years, but she was not merely a director of the theater. Some of her best productions were our annual Passover Seders, where for just a few hours each year, as many as 4 generations would come together to celebrate the holiday together. Growing up, my Judaism was defined by these family gatherings, so it's not too surprising that Aunt Janet also has a lot to do with why I'm standing up here today. My journey with Hillel started the same way as I think a lot of others do, with free food and the nagging or gentle encouragement of a loving family member. See, my freshman year, I was living all the way up on the north end of campus. There was no way that I was going to walk all the way down to Hillel, especially when I had 5 dining halls to choose from. I had friends already from high school back in Tucson, and I had never been all that Jewish anyway, or so I thought, outside of Hanukkah and Passover. But none of that stopped Aunt Janet from sending me an email every single week with subject lines that said, "Go check this event out," or "Have you seen this?" It was always the Hillel newsletter. Now, I would inevitably write back some oh-so-sweet nephew response about how I'd be sure to check it out, but I never did. Heck, most weeks I probably hardly even read the newsletter. But then sophomore year came, my meal plan ended, and we were in the middle of COVID. Hillel was still offering Shabbat meals to go and Zoom events, and I was running out of excuses to send to my Aunt Janet. So I began to dip my toes in the Hillel waters, mostly just picking up the free food on Friday nights, but also having meetings with Rabbi Susie, with Michaela, with Andrew Gibbs, and I was so pleased that they all took the time to get to know me and my interests. Eventually, Rabbi Susie asked me to join her social justice cohort that spring. After that 6-week class, I was sold. I joined the student board for the first time as the inclusion chair, and then the next year as a social impact chair. It was during my time in these roles that I learned how to turn my love of people and community into concrete action. I studied Jewish teachings and traditions of justice with Rabbi Susie, and then I would program events for our entire Hillel ASU community to come together and live those teachings. My experience with these social impact programs and with the many conversations I had with staff members like Michaela and Debbie and everybody in the building, they all taught me what it meant to live Jewishly my way. Judaism is no longer just a twice-a-year family reunion, but an important part of my identity that helps to shape the way that I interact with the world around me. I am now the writer, producer, and director of my own Judaism. In the last 3 years, I've done so many things in the Hillel building that if I tried to list them, we'd be here all night. I've spent literally hundreds of hours in and around the Hillel building, taking classes with Rabbi Susie, meeting weekly with our fantastic assistant director, Taylor, and attending Shabbat services, even meeting the second gentleman of the United States of America, and most of all, hanging out with all of my Hillel homies around the table in the lobby. At Hillel, I have found the greatest group of friends, the best professional and personal mentors that I could ask for, and I have come a whole lot closer to finding myself. Huh, Ed, maybe there is a little something to that tagline, find yourself here.
Thank you, Zach. ASU Hillel is very lucky to have you as its student board president. And going off script, I think somewhere up there, Aunt Janet's pretty proud. And just like most of the students we have heard from, you didn't find Hillel right away. But when you did, we, the donors, philanthropists, and community members ensured that Hillel was here for you. He turns the page while everybody sits in their chairs. We have built this organization into what it is today, an organization that has reached over 1,000 students this school year already. And an organization that teaches 120 students a year in a variety of classes. And an organization that takes 120 students to Israel each year. You betcha. An organization that supports students navigating increased anti-Semitism in the world. An organization that works closely with many administrators, including some here tonight, thank you for coming, to ensure a safe campus climate for students, including when anti-Semitic or other challenging incidents occur, and an organization that is looked at by Hillels across the country as a model for student impact and engagement. And most importantly, this is where we nurture the future leaders of this Jewish community. With your support, Hillel can continue to grow and impact more and more students. My friends, it is hard to put a value on nurturing the leaders of the next generation, but we are here to ask you to do just that. So table captains, there's envelopes. Gail, you're going to cover for me. Table captains, there's envelopes. Please take out your envelopes and pass them out to your tables. Please, 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 please be generous. Zach, do you have anything to add?
Just one thing.
What do you have to add, Zach?
Add a 0.
Yeah.